Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Tuesday. It's not quite an overreaction Tuesday, but if you want to go down that road, you can. There was a big announcement yesterday afternoon from Atlanta United. Multiple injuries coming out of the game in DC, a hamstring, an ACL, and a knee that needs to be looked at. It's not directly related to the DC game, but still, Joseph Martinez getting the knee that he had surgery on looked at again because of discomfort lately. Never a good thing. So all of those things are happening. We're going to start with that this morning. 9:30, Dylan Butler joins us from MLSsoccer.com. We're going to talk about the weekend in MLS. We're going to talk a little CONCACAF Champions League. Semifinals start tonight. The All-Liga MX matchup is tonight late. The All-MLS matchup is tomorrow in Seattle with NYC and the Sounders. We'll get into all of that with Dylan. Also, maybe get his thoughts on the World Cup draw. And in hour number 2 is going to be a lot to cover because we have the Champions League quarterfinals in Europe kicking off today. We have Copa Libertadores group stage kicking off today. We have Copa Sudamericana group stage kicking off today. We've got games in Serie A yesterday that could affect the title race, and that might be why I'm wearing my Napoli shirt, maybe, possibly, allegedly. We've got games in England to talk about. We've got news in different places to talk about. We've got Michel Platini, charging Gianni Infantino, filing a complaint, charging him with bribery. Gianni Infantino is president of FIFA. Michel Platini got in trouble as the president of UEFA back in the day. Yeah. Good times. All kinds of stuff to get into in hour number 2. So we will bounce around all over the globe in hour 2, but we're going to start with what happened yesterday in Atlanta with the press release and the conversation around Matheus Rossetto. I think that's the easiest one. Hamstring, 2 to 4 weeks. We know that can go a little bit longer depending. You're going to be careful early in a season because you don't want it to be a recurring issue. But Matheus Rossetto, we thought it was a hamstring watching it live. Pretty clear what it was. Luckily, it's not anything more than that, at least at this stage. I think we can handle that one, pretty much be done with that conversation. Ozzie Alonso, it's horrible luck for him. The veteran comes here from Minnesota. Great to see the Seattle Sounders, by the way. Wish him well in his recovery. That was very classy of the Seattle organization. Mainstay with the Sounders for a number of years. Torn ACL. The next steps are a little unknown for Osvaldo, and that's going to be determined here soon. With ACL injuries, and we talked about this with the Joseph one specifically, and that happened, early before the pandemic, and then getting surgery was getting into the pandemic, and you're getting into complications with just getting surgeries done at the beginning of a pandemic and everything. But you also had to wait for the swelling to go down before you could really tell what the next steps were. And that is my understanding of kind of where we are with Osvaldo Alonso. The timeline isn't known yet on what he's going to do, what that's going to look like. So stay tuned on that. And then Joseph. Look, we don't really know anything more than the release from yesterday. He's been expressing discomfort with his knee that was surgically repaired. We know the complications that he had after the surgery, and he told us that last year. Didn't know until he talked about it last summer, July or so, and how difficult it was for him. You go back and you look at what he's been doing lately. Joseph played 3 straight 90-minute matches, and I would have never guessed there was an issue because he played in Colorado, he played against Charlotte, he played against Montreal. I thought Montreal was his best match of the 3. I thought he looked like he was showing some of that quickness, some of that speed, some of that explosiveness. Of course, we can play the hindsight game, and people will try to point at different things and say, oh, no, I knew. He played 3 straight 90-minute games. First time he had done that in a while, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't see it coming. Then he went to Venezuelan national team duty, And it's nothing about the intrinsic nature of going to play for your national team that causes a knee to have problems. But he played 62 minutes at La Bombonera in Buenos Aires, nearly had a goal for Venezuela in a loss. Did not play in the second game. There was no reporting that I have found about any issues at that stage with his knee. Came back and played 62 minutes against DC and didn't look great in that. He had a couple of opportunities. I wasn't sounding alarm bells at the end of it. You factor that travel in, all the different things. You're like, okay, I can see how this would go. All right, let's see what's next. This is not what I expected for what was next. So he's got to get looked at. I don't know what that means. I don't think anybody knows in terms of a timeline. He's going to Pittsburgh, to the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. That's where he had the surgery. If you remember, the surgeon who did it, Freddie Fu, sadly passed away last September. But his team is who did the surgery, and that is who Joseph is going to see about the surgery they did in the knee and where things are and what could be causing this discomfort. Hopefully, it's being cautious. Hopefully, it is just being cautious, and hopefully there's nothing wrong, and hopefully there's nothing else to follow up on and to do. We don't know if that's the case, and we don't know if he's out for this weekend. We don't know if he's out for a period of time. We don't know if it's going to be rest. We don't know if there's going to have to be any kind of a follow-up. Anything beyond what was reported is speculation, and you know how we feel about speculation and narratives. We just have to wait and see with Joseph. It's awful timing. It's awful luck. It is what it is right now, and we have to wait and see what the doctors in Pittsburgh have to say. And that's really where it stands. Jarrett coming off of a win, a late win, a good start to the season with 3 wins out of 5. This is not the news you wanted on a Monday afternoon with your veteran defensive midfielder who's really brought a different kind of energy to that portion of the field. He's got an ACL tear and is at least out for most of the season, if not all of it. You've got your star striker with knee discomfort, and you're going to miss your central midfielder who has been a stalwart in this team from the beginning of the Gonzalo Pineda era. You're going to miss him for at least a few weeks with a hamstring. Not a fun Monday afternoon in Atlanta.
No, it's not, and it's frustrating because it's you're dealing with this fact of it feels like you get to that point where everyone's coming back healthy. You're working everybody back into being functioning again, and then this happens, and it's the gut punch. I feel awful for Alonso. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we mentioned that because he's a guy who has been a league veteran, very well respected around the league, and just goes down with a bad injury, and now we're trying to figure out, what's his game plan going forward. What does he plan to do going forward? How does he plan to approach this? Because honestly, I wasn't sure what is he going to do for the rest of the year, because I don't know what his plan was after this. Is he going to try and just kind of ride this out and then kind of hang him up after this year anyway? Hasetsu coming back hopefully sooner rather than later. You want to get that done, and you want to get him feeling good again. And it's, yeah, man, like frustrating is the word the word that just kind of sticks in my head about it, because you had this thing where everybody's starting to feel better. You feel like Luis Araujo is going to be coming back soon.
Yep.
Everything's going well, and now it's not. And now you're getting some guys back. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. Like Emerson Hyndman is coming back pretty soon, it sounds like. Mike Conti mentioned it yesterday on Twitter. I think you mentioned it as well in Dukes and Bell, that it sounds like Emerson Hyndman's coming back soon. So that's great news.
Where Emerson is, he's been training with the team. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. I don't know if I can say he's training full time, training fully. Like, I don't know if he's taking some portions of training out to do fitness work. I don't know if he's doing all the activities. I don't know if he's training with the team every single day. I'm not sure what his training schedule is, but he's close to appearing in matches. And I would assume with him, because we've seen this in the past with different players coming back from more of a longer term issue, like what Emerson's dealing with an ACL, he'll probably get some minutes with Atlanta United too first. And I don't know if that's a game, if that's a couple of games. If it's a couple of 45s, a couple of halves, I'm not sure. But he is very close from everything I've heard to getting that next step in his recovery. And that will be a step in the recovery. That doesn't mean he is full go with the first team the minute he steps on the field for the twos. They got to play him. They got to see how things go. And then he'll get the all clear, or they'll get the, hey, we're not quite ready for the all clear yet. We want to get you more minutes. We want to work on this. We want to work on that.
Yeah. And so you're working him back in. So that's good that it's good that you're getting some guys back. It just sucks that as you're getting some guys back, the injury bug just keeps biting you. Honestly, like it just keeps coming up over and over again, and it's really frustrating. And it's okay to be frustrated by it. It's good to be annoyed by it. The injury bug just keeps wanting to rear its head on you. It's just something you're gonna have to work through, though. And now, as you hope that Joseph is just hey man, between playing 90 minutes 3 times in a row, traveling for international duty, you had some swelling, take a day off and you'll be okay.
Now hold on, Jared. We don't know that he's had swelling. Let's.
Oh, I'm sorry, with the soreness.
Yeah, he's felt discomfort, is what he said. The soreness issue was last year. I think there was some swelling last year that was talked about, but this one, we know nothing other than he has expressed discomfort and he has felt discomfort and he's going to go get it checked out. That's all we know. I don't want to get things out there.
Fair.
True. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fair. So we could call it soreness then. Hopefully it is a matter of, hey, knee's a little bit sore. Yeah, it's because you've done a lot on it recently. Take a little bit of a break. You'll be fine. And, call me in the morning.
It could be. Hopefully.
And in the time being, hey, it sounds like I would assume you're not going to see him this upcoming week. So
that's my assumption right now. Yeah.
My assumption is you're not going to see him this week. Hey, Jackson, you wanted a shot, man. Here it is, Dom Dwyer. We're going to be asking a lot of both of you.
Well, you got a week.
Where we are.
Well, and you have Ronaldo Cisneros now as well.
I don't. Okay, I'm excited about that. I don't want to do this thing that everybody did with Eric Lopez, where we put undue pressure on a kid who shows up. And I get Cisneros isn't a kid.
Is completely different.
But I don't want people to expect him to walk in day one and just start burning the house down. Like it's not fair.
No. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that at all. I'm
not saying you are.
I know, but when I bring him up, I'm bringing him up because you've got training today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. You got 4 days of training, and it's Dom, it's Ronaldo, and it's Jackson trying to earn the starting spot for Sunday. And it's an open competition. I don't think Jackson has it locked down. I don't think Dom has it locked down. Ronaldo just walked in the door. He can walk in and take that job for Sunday. Doesn't mean he goes out and has a hat trick. Doesn't mean he goes out and does all these things. Doesn't mean he keeps the starting job forever. Doesn't mean anything other than Sunday. But he has every opportunity to get the start on Sunday, I think. He's here, and it's an open competition if Joseph can't go on Sunday. And that is an assumption right now based off the fact he's had discomfort. He's going to get it checked out. I don't know what that timeline looks like. I don't know, how fast he goes there, comes back, gets looked at. If he's having discomfort, you would assume that at least there's going to be some rest. So if he rests this week, you have 4 days of training to decide who's going to start up top. And Cisneros has every opportunity to earn that spot. It doesn't mean anything more than that. And if people want to run and say that it does, then that's on them. I can't control that. You can't always look to that as like, I think we do this thing, Jarrett, and I think we've talked about it before where, okay, the team has no depth at all. They have no depth. Everybody on the bench is terrible. No, everybody on the bench is an all-star and they're world class and they're great like Eric Lopez was supposed to be and this and that. It generally, it's good depth because you're too deep everywhere. Yes, you can deal with Alonso being out. You have Sosa back now. That is great. You wish you had Alonso for certain periods. Maybe you're going to look to find somebody who can give you some of that. But you have Sosa. You have Hindman coming back. You have Ibarra back. You have a lot of depth in the central midfield. You have a Marcedich. You have George Campbell who can play the six. You have a lot of depth. But we spin round and round to make ourselves dizzy about, well, this guy on the bench is the greatest thing since sliced bread. This guy on the bench is terrible and shouldn't even have boots to lace up. And it's just, no, you have good depth. And now you've added Cisneros. So look, the timing's great that he arrives this week. Because if Joseph is out for Sunday, I don't think Jackson has done enough to say he's the starter, no question. Dom hasn't, and Cisneros just walked in the door. You got 4 good days of competition up there. And that's going to raise the bar in training a little bit this week, because you're going to have 3 guys who want that start. Because if they get that start and they go out and they do well, they might get another start, and they might rearrange the depth chart a little bit. It is an interesting opportunity here for Ronaldo Cisneros walking in that he didn't expect when he was added to the team.
I will get into the fact that as we've get into the Ozzy Alonso thing, I mean, it's never good. If you want something, I guess, warm and fuzzy about it all, look, you got Franco Ibarra back on the field the other day. That's huge. That makes us easy. Though. It is, but it makes moving guys around the midfield a little bit easier to do, I think.
I think if you want the positives on the backups for Alonso, Alonso, I think, was brought in to split time with Sosa. I don't know if you want to call one a starter, one not. You get Sosa back. Ibarra is not a 6 by himself. He can't play what Sosa and Alonso have done, but he gives you a little bit different piece of the times you might have thought about playing Sosa and Alonso together, and Ozzy would step up and be combative and win balls and recover possession. Ibarra can give you that. So it's not direct, and it's in certain situations that he can really help, but he's coming back and Alonso's out, so that's your like for like. He's not a like for like. Honestly, I think this gives Campbell a little bit more of an opportunity to see some time at the 6 if Sosa needs the time off. But Sosa was pretty durable last year, and Sosa has an opportunity now to get an extended run. He's had more time under Gonzalo Pineda. Now, I think he's looked really good since coming back from injury. I think he's looked a little more mobile, a little more, I think, willing to move higher up the field without the team. Some of the things that Alonso was bringing to the team, where he was very aggressive. I think Sosa's shown a little bit more of that, which is great. But it's just, you have that depth in the central midfield. You now have a lot of different kinds of pieces. You've got Sosa as a 6, as a pure 6. You've got Campbell, who can give you some 6, but he's a center back. You've got Ibarra, who is a defensive 8. You've got Josechi when he comes back as a more possession-based middle third kind of 8. But he can defend some, he can get forward some. You've got Emerson Hyndman coming back in, who is more of an attacking 8 and can get into the box and can get you goals and can get into attacking situations. We talked about that a lot. He was the one who I thought understood the Gabriel Heinze style and system and positional play really well. You've got Moreno and Almada, who can come in and play as a 10 in front of people. You've got SDH, who can really play all of the above. He can play as a 6. He's not as defensive as a Sosa or a Campbell, but he can play as an 8 and give you all facets you would want of an 8, a box to box, a mixed midfielder. And he can play a little bit further up the field and pick out a pass. That's a lot of different options and different people in a position group that just had 2 injuries, one major and one minor. That's why you build the depth that you do.
I mean, how many different guys did we just mention here with the 3 concerns, Josetu, Alonso, and Joseph? How many different guys did we just name? 8?
Well, it's different spots. So
right.
You've got 3 forwards who are going to be competing if Joseph is out to play. You've got in the midfield, we put them all together, and you're taking 2 out right now. And you're factoring in anybody who can play there. It's Sosa, it's Campbell, it's SDH, it's Ibarra, it's Hyndman, it's Moreno, it's Almada. All of those guys can play central midfield positions for you comfortably. We did see Jake Mulroney in the central midfield in Mexico. I think that was a little bit out of necessity, but maybe turns your head a little bit as something you can use late in a game. I'm not playing him as an 8. I'd play him as a 10 kind of role with protection behind him. That's not bad. I mean, that's a lot of cover. Do you still consider now, okay, I had cover to do all of this. Now I've lost one again, we don't know Alonso's timeline, but we're not going to see him for a while, I would assume. Do you go and try to find a veteran 6 to give you a little bit of what Ozzy might have? I don't know if there is another one that can give you Ozzy-esque abilities, but your depth, you built it for a reason. Now it's just depleted a little bit, but you're seeing why you built the depth in the first place.
Yeah, you mentioned 11 different names for forward, midfield, and everything else that's there. So, I mean, that's why all of this was laid out the way that it was. Bernd, though, did have a question. I think that you had mentioned earlier in the year an individual from Houston that might be able to fit in with the Atlanta United. Was it Darwin Seren? Was that the name that you'd used?
Yeah. He's a midfielder I've always liked. Salvadoran international, Darwin Seren. He can be a little more of a defensive 8. He can play the 6, I think, probably mostly in a double pivot. He's somebody that I've always liked, and if he was available, I would consider it. I'd consider it, and we'll see where Houston is. I don't know if it's something you have to consider before this first window closes in May. I think it's something that maybe you get to the summer window and then you know where Houston is a little bit this year, what their expectations are. He's an older player. He's not somebody who's going to be, a focal point for them to build around. He's in his early 30s, if I'm not mistaken. You might be able to get him for a reasonable trade in the summer window and give you a little bit of extra depth going into the second half of the season, which could be a nice pickup, but we'll see. I do like Soren. Yeah.
And, once again, if you're looking at everything up top with Joseph, this isn't number for number goals, assists, straight up swap that you're looking at. You're not looking for someone that can be there and give you the 20 plus or whatever you're looking at. Everyone else we'd anticipated with Almada and with Moreno, with a healthy Arujo, that those numbers would be closer, pushing double digits. It just means to me that you're looking for those individuals to contribute maybe just another goal or 2 more across the board, plus with what you would hope that you're getting from some combination of Conway, Dwyer, and Cisneros up top. You're not looking for that straight like-for-like numerical swap if Joseph is out for a longer period of time.
Yeah, Jarrett, before you leave us for a little bit, I think that's an important point, is that even coming into the year with Joseph, you weren't asking him to score 30 goals for this team to be successful. That's a good thing now if there is a period of time that Joseph is going to be out, because you do have other goal scorers in this team, and it's not as much pressure to replace that guy that is everything in the goal scoring category as it was in 2020, where you didn't get anybody to replace him and his production, and you didn't have the other people who were adding the other goals. Now you're in a different situation, which makes it a little bit easier to find that replacement if you do need it for a period of time, which we don't know yet.
Yeah, it's been nice this year. I mean, of course, you want Joseph to get back to that guy who's putting in 15 goals a game or season. Excuse me, 15 goals a game be a little extreme. You want him to get back.
Crazy. Yeah.
It would be. This is not like U12's craziness. You want him to get back to that, of course. But the fact that you've been able to get production without that is a great sign. And it's great that you've been able to get stuff done. And you're getting guys like Luis back in the fray. We talked about yesterday, Marcelino Moreno pops up when you need him most. He has that clutch gene, whether or not you believe it or not. We know Jason does now.
I did before.
That's fine. No, I just didn't know that you did before.
No, I believe in clutch gene.
That's fine.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I believe in clutch genes.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Just specifying.
But you've got this thing now where it's you got guys scoring all around the field. You've got guys contributing. You've got guys comfortable in a system. I don't think it's the same. I don't think if you're feeling like it's the same thing as 2020, I'm going to disagree for now, and we'll see how things play out, because I think you have the stability. You had the issues with Frank de Boer kind of boiling over. The timeline's a little muddled there in 2020, but it's not the exact same thing. So let's just, before we freak out too much, let's wait to see what the doctors say.
Yeah, that's the number one. It's not 2020 because he's not having to have season-ending surgery. We know that much right now. We know that we don't know, basically, is the way to put it. And I think you have a more well-rounded attacking team with more pieces who can score in those moments than you had in 2020. And you don't have the off-the-field stuff. That's a really good thing to point out, Jarrett, because I think this team is really bought into what Gonzalo Pineda wants to do and him as a person, as a leader. And you're going to see, when you have injuries like this, you never want them. But if you're going to have them, you want them early. And you got 2 windows to potentially deal with going to bolster that roster if needed. You are probably going to be in the market looking around for a defensive midfielder that can give you a little extra cover, since you've lost one that you brought in Alonso, who has played significantly early on because of Sosa's recovery from sports hernia surgery. So, yeah, okay. You've got time. You've got cover right now, and you've got time. But, yeah, you're probably looking for that. Is it somebody like a Darwin Sutter or somebody else? Could be. We'll just have to see what the trade market looks like. Jarrett, you coming back in hour number 2?
That's the game plan.
Okay. Well, we might see you. We might not. If we do, we'll talk to you then. If we don't, then buy and stuff.
Buy and stuff.
Buy and stuff.
Dylan, everybody in Atlanta is freaking out. Freaking out about yesterday's news.
Yeah. No. I feel you, Atlanta.
Can you remember? We've had this conversation about, hamstrings and all that. Let's put to the side for a minute. ACLs, they're fluke things. There's nothing you can do to really predict them or prevent them. They happen. Atlanta's had one in each of the last 3 years. I can't think of another MLS team that's had something like that, because you had Joseph in 20, you had Hindman in 21, and now you get Alonso in 22.
Yeah. The simple answer, but it's not a real answer, would be to blame the turf. But then why isn't it happening in New England where it's worse? Or
2 of them happened on grass.
Right.
The Joseph one in Nashville, and then this one in DC.
So yeah, completely fluke.
I think the Hindman one was on grass too. It was in training. I don't know if they were on the turf or the grass field, but I think it was on the grass field.
But yeah, so that's not. It's like you said, it's fluke. It's freaky. It's unfortunate. So, especially with Alonso now. I know that you were just speaking to Jared about it, but we spoke about that position with Sporting Kansas City, just like losing an Ilie, right, and like really not replacing him.
Yeah,
those guys aren't easy to find, right? If you have a quality one, more likely than not that you're a team that's keeping that guy, right? So
the good thing is you got 2. Alonso was here to, I think, mentor and help and bolster Santiago Sosa and his development, and Sosa's now back. So at least from a timing perspective, Sosa is ready to go. But you lose that mentor. You lose that guy who can come in late and you can play the 2 of them together and shut up shop. You lose the reason you brought him in was to take the next step in that position group, and now you've lost that.
And a guy who, when we heard before he was announced, everything that we heard leading up was a guy with MLS experience who's great in the locker room, like a Laurentowicz type of guy, right? And so much of what we heard from Ozzy was just that, right? Like now he's still there, right? Like he's not gone, but that presence, on the field or in that huddle before, or in situations in at halftime, right? That's a big loss as well.
It is.
Yeah. And I could certainly see, Ozzy, if it's prolonged and the rehabilitation instead of surgery doesn't come up with any kind of a positive in the interim, you could definitely still see him as that mentor in the tracksuit, in street clothes, sitting there and trying to almost be that other coach that Gonzalo Pineda wanted when he brought him in, except he's not on the pitch. He's now off to the side, but he still gets to be that mentor. It's just more in a verbal instead of a visual sense. And I still think, though, that's key with the younger players that are around.
I will say, John, though, it's hard when you're off to the side working individually, right? Like, and that's what he's going to be doing. a lot, certainly, especially too if it's not going to be surgery, right? Like he's going to be off when, by himself trying to run and trying to do things, and like he's not going to be with the group. Like even in the locker room, I think a lot of that might be limited. So even in his rehab, I think that hurts the team.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, Ozzy's at that stage in his career that, you got to get through the initial phase of the injury. You got to get the swelling down. They've got to be able to take a look and figure out, okay, if you have surgery, it's 12 months or it's 9 to 12 months. Do you want to come back? Do you want to recover from that and come back? And, ACL rehab is not pleasant. It's not fun to get back to the level of a professional athlete. I don't know how many more years he had in mind to begin with, let alone add this onto it, and then once you know what the pathway could be, you mentioned non-surgical, like, is that a possibility? Could he play some kind of a role for the rest of the season with that once you get past whatever rehab there is? I mean, yeah, you've seen athletes play with ACL tears.
Yeah.
You've seen people, perform without ACL tears. It's not common. It's not ideal. It's not fun. It's painful. It does affect everything, but what's the route that he wants to take? And then what's next? Because, then we've had the conversation. I'd love to see him as a coach one day. I don't know if that's going to be here, if that's Seattle, if that's somewhere else. I don't know where he wants to settle, but with that in the back of your mind, that's a lot to weigh. And it's just, it's horrible for him, because for somebody that, has been in this league since 2009, has been playing in this country since 2008 when he played for Charleston. He's one of the most respected players in, the American soccer scene, in my opinion. And to just have this happen to him, and such an interesting role, and I think such a valuable role for this club, it's just awful luck for Osvaldo Alonso to have this happen. And that's what it was. It was a collision, and, that knee buckled, it looked like.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you guys are on the ground there. I'm just kind of out here in New York, but, now I guess additional concerns for Joseph, right? So.
Yeah, the Joseph one is really weird. And we were talking about it a little bit earlier, because he had played 3 straight 90-minute games. And I think it had been a while since he had done that. When he played in Colorado, he played against Charlotte, and he played against Montreal. And I thought the game against Montreal was the best, like by a significant margin. The first goal, he showed that quickness, he showed that explosiveness. It's a turnover caused by Wolf and Osechu, but Joseph finishes it, a Joseph kind of goal like we've seen. He finished the match, 270 minutes in 3 weeks. Okay. Wasn't worried about anything with a knee. And he goes to national team duty, and he played 60 plus in Buenos Aires for Venezuela on the Friday, and then didn't play at all on the Tuesday. He was on the bench. He was dressed, but didn't play on the Tuesday, and then got into the second half in DC and was subbed out. And yeah, I was worried when he got subbed out, because, it was a scoreless game at that point, and you would expect him to be on, but you think, okay, we'll travel. Even though he didn't play on Tuesday, it's still a lot of travel. He only really had 1 day of a training session. All right, give him a little more time. He'll be good for next week. I didn't see this coming. Yeah. I didn't see this coming at all, that he's feeling discomfort and wants to go get it checked out by the University of Pittsburgh medical staff.
It's funny too, right? Because that's the second significant or potential injury that's coming off of the international break, where we saw Shaqiri as well, right? And Chicago pull up after 18 minutes with a tightness in his calf. So is it the travel? Is it again these condensed windows where you're playing a lot after playing a lot in MLS? I don't think there's an easy solution, unfortunately.
There's not. And with the Joseph one, I mean, I haven't seen anything I didn't see anything last week, and I was checking, reports about Venezuela's team. I didn't see anything about injury concerns coming out in Argentina or not playing in the second game in Venezuela. I didn't see any conversation about it. And then he came back and he played. So it's like, hopefully this is being cautious. It's being very, sensitive to the struggles he had, throughout the recovery and last year as well, and just wants to make sure. And hopefully that's all it is, but we're not really going to know for a minute at least.
Yeah.
And then, you add that, you add the Ozzy Alonso and Joseph, you have Mateus Osetu with a hamstring. And, it was a point that we were discussing in the first half hour is that, yes, you have these three concerns, but the way that the roster was constructed, you're not going to rush Luis Arujo back, but you have that to help you out up top. You have, you have a lot of players at the back. You have with Santiago Sosa getting back to full song. You're looking at folks like Mar Sadic and Miguel Ibarra. Emerson Hyndman is working his way back in, so that this roster was built with depth in mind. It just so happens that the situations that happened last week are once again reminding you about construction and how important depth is in MLS for situations like this, if you do have to break glass in a situation like Atlanta United's having to.
100%. And I think, look, you still need to get results, right? Like regardless of the injuries, suspensions, call-ups, whatever it is, no one's having a pity party, right? So you and to their credit, I feel like that was an important 3 points to get against DC, right? Considering all of those factors that are swirling around, right? So while you're not at your 100% peak form in terms of fitness and injuries, to get points wherever they are on the road is really, really important. That was big for them.
Let's bounce around the MLS weekend that was a little bit. You mentioned Shaqiri. He left the match at Soldier Field. It was not a pretty one. I had a chance to see a little bit of this before going to Audi Field. Scoreless draw, but Chicago's unbeaten in 5.
One of 3 undefeated teams in MLS. Listen, as much as you talk about a new coach and players in, I don't know if anybody saw that happening after 5 weeks of the MLS season, right? Yes, you could say Philly, right? You could see that LAFC,
100% could see those,
right? But absolutely not Chicago. So full credit to Ezra Hendrickson and what he's building there. And listen, the identity again is when we're not at our best, let's be sure to be really compact defensively. Let's not give away anything, and at worst, we come away with a 0-0, right? And that's what that was. It was an ugly day. It was rainy and cold, and they didn't play their best. And they were without arguably their 2 best players. Mm-hmm. To do that and nick a point is really, really important for them, right? And I thought Gutierrez came off the bench, looked really, really good.
I like him.
Almost immediately played a killer 40-yard ball. Right into space into the 18 that unfortunately didn't get finished. But yeah, listen, they're 5 weeks into the MLS season. You got to say they're one of the bigger storylines, one of the cooler storylines in the league right now, right? Like a team that obviously the last few years has just been sort of treading water and spinning its wheels, and now. Again, it's not perfect, right? It's not necessarily the beautiful game just yet, but they're getting points and they're unbeaten in 5, right? So full marks for them for doing that.
Are we getting maybe Ezra Hendrickson as the Diego Simeone of MLS in that what you said, like he's gonna defend first? Maybe not the dark arts part that everybody wants to talk about in England when it comes to Simeone. That's all they're talking about.
Yeah,
it's the defensive solidity, and I think that's such an important point. That look, we're missing some pieces. This isn't going to be an easy one for us. We'd love to go for it and try to get the 3 points here, and if it happens, we will. But we're going to be smart first and not concede, and that'll keep us in the game.
Yeah, and that's clearly what he decided was the first important thing to shore up, right? And it is, right?
It is.
And, it's one thing to say, all right, we're going to go out and we're going to play 5-4 games, right? Like, I don't know, or a 4-3 game like FC Cincinnati. But maybe it's a little bit better, right? To say, let's make sure a team that leaked goals last year that like Chicago did. Let's take care of that back line first, or just a collective defending, right? Obviously, it includes the forwards and midfielders.
Yeah.
And then we work forward from there, right? And if opportunities present themselves, we're taking them. And that's why I think a Shaqiri is such an important piece, right? Because he links those lines, he connects those lines, and he's that great playmaker, and he's always wanting to be on the ball, right? So you take care of things defensively, you get it ahead to him, and then let him kind of create his magic. And you've got Shabilko up front, and you've got other options as well. So yeah, I mean, I think a great starting point for Chicago is that defensive solidity. So
you mentioned the Cincinnati 4-3 goal fest. How are you feeling about Cincinnati these days?
Entertaining.
Yeah. I wouldn't have said that before the season. I'll give it that.
Right. I mean, it's kind of they are, even if it isn't, a 9:30, 10 o'clock kickoff, they are that MLS after dark team, right?
A little bit. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And to that point, yeah, who knows, right? Like one of the positives certainly that's come out of it is Brandon Vasquez, right? Who is, again, we didn't see Chicago being an undefeated team, and I don't think we saw Brandon Vasquez necessarily being in the shout for the early goings for the Golden Boot, right? So
didn't have that one on my bingo card. Nope.
And now he's even got some U.S. national team batter, right? So
yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe.
When it comes to Toronto's win over NYCFC, are you reading more into Toronto and their positives, or what in the wide world of sports happened to NYCFC there?
Or pro. Or pro.
Or pro.
True. Pro is where I'm going with that. I mean, look, I'm almost at a loss here, right? Because
I was gonna say you're getting dialed up here for a second. You're trying to,
but I don't know. Like, so Pro comes out with a definitive statement 24 hours later, right? So great, awesome, good. Thank you for being transparent and saying that you guys blew it. But who does that help? Right?
Dylan, we've been through this one a few times down here in Atlanta.
And get the PK that they deserve.
Nope.
And again, right, like goals change games. So I'm not saying NYCFC goes out and wins that one, or they've got issues in MLS clearly, right? But you have a PK in the 8th minute, right? Now the odds are pretty good that you convert that, right? It's more in your favor that you convert that you don't. So now you take a 1-0 lead, right, at Toronto. That probably changes the complexion of that game a little bit, right? Fair?
100% it does. Yeah, 100%.
So I don't, I mean, look, kudos to Toronto, right? Like good 3 points for them. But we've spoken about this before. So we need to, it's great that you're transparent, but I think that we need maybe more, just need better. We need better officiating, right? Like we need the referees to have more. I mean, I don't know, like, I know when before COVID, like you would be able to go and be a pool reporter and try to answer questions, and even that process was heavily guarded for the referees. Look, I don't know. This could be its own show, I guess, but
we talked about it a little bit yesterday, Dylan, and I think
we talked about it.
Yeah, I'm with you on the issue here because it changes the game. It's an 8th minute situation, and it changes the game. And I have no idea how you give the penalty if you're Drew Fisher, and the VAR buzzes down and says, no, it's not a penalty. You made a clear and obvious error. And then Fisher goes to look at the monitor and agrees when you can see the clip. Like you can see the player go down after contact. Like it's there. I don't know how you change that. And I think what you have to do, because you can't go back and restart the game from the 8th minute. You can't go back and give points. But what you have to do, and Pro has only done it once that I know of, you have to come out and say that the VAR and the referee in the situation are not working next week.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not to take money out of people's pockets, but if you're a player and you make an egregious mistake in a game, you're going to be on the bench next time.
Yeah, and we've heard that from managers as well, right? Like if they make a mistake, they have to step up in front of media and get criticized for it.
Yeah.
They have to hear from their bosses as well. 100%. A player makes a mistake of that magnitude, yeah, they're probably not in the 11 next week, right? And they're answering questions from the media.
And if we're not going to have the questioning thing, which I somewhat get, I somewhat understand that. Okay, fine. If that's the trade-off, then I'm asking, if I'm MLS, I'm honestly demanding that there has to be accountability when you come out and have to make a public statement to say that the referee and the VAR in this case made a, quote, significant officiating error.
Yeah.
Then you have to have in that statement, and they will not be working next week or the next 2 weeks or whatever it is. They do that in other countries.
Yeah.
And here it needs to be the case. If you're not going to have to come up and speak in front of the media to say, hey, why did this happen? If you don't want to answer that question, well, then you make those mistakes. You got to sit down.
And look too, I mean, again, who knows how the rest of the game gets played out in the next 82 plus minutes,
We'll
right?
never know.
And maybe Toronto deals with it and they still get to 3 points. Maybe NYCFC still loses. But you've got to say it certainly affected the result of a game. And in a league there's so much parity, every point is critical, right? Just look at the standings a year ago, right? There was not many points that separated at least second in the East down to probably 7th or 8th, right? So
yeah, you can go through every team and find a couple. And I mean, I want to say this, like this season in general, I've actually been really happy with the refereeing I've seen in general. Now, this past week, this issue, egregious. I think management of the match in Portland, awful, like the worst I've seen in a while in this league. There was no consistency. The lines moving all over the place about what's a red, what's a yellow, what's a foul, and it just felt completely out of control. But up to that point, it felt like every game I was walking away that we did with Atlanta United and other games I watched, that I'm like, yeah, that's a good performance from the referee. It's good performance from the VAR. So I don't want to say like, it's all terrible. They're all horrible. Get rid of all of them. They need more support. There needs to be better development, but there also has to be that accountability. Yes. I think you're dead on, and we're probably not going to get the media portion of it. I'll take that trade-off if we hear that, yeah, these guys are going to, lose a paycheck if they don't do well, because a player would lose the opportunity for a win bonus if they don't play well. A coach potentially loses their job if you have results go against them.
And I will say this. I think the usage of VAR in MLS is better, probably much better, right, than anywhere else. Like we see how horrible they utilize it in the Premier League, right? Like,
it's a lot better than England for sure. Yeah. Italy and Germany do a pretty good job with it, and I think MLS is on par with them for sure.
Yeah, so that's a positive. But now it's let's take that next step.
Yeah, if you make a mistake, there's got to be a repercussion. It can't be this or what we've had here a couple of times, because it felt like 2020 and 21. There were a number of different issues, and there were some of these that happened with Atlanta United that, look, I was told, and I can say this has come up. I was told that it wasn't even a public apology. It was a private apology of, this should have happened the other way. Sorry. And other managers have talked about that publicly too. And that's almost even worse. It's like you won't even come out publicly and say a mistake was made. You're sending the private email or private, phone message. That's not acceptable. Like, it's the accountability has to improve.
But John, to after I think I kind of started that.
Hey, no, I mean that's what it's all about, because VAR played a significant part in this match. But yes, please, your coda, sir.
Yeah, I would say again. I give an NYCFC a little more leeway right now because of the Champions League, right? So that's a massive games coming up. If they play like MLS Cup champions against Seattle and it's an incredible, 2-leg draw, then I'm not really concerned, right? If their last couple games in MLS carry over now to Champions League, I think there could be a problem there.
Philadelphia, you said they were the best team in MLS so far early on. I don't think they did anything to change that with a very solid 2-0 win over Charlotte on the weekend.
Yeah, listen, they play their brand of football really well, right? Like they're very precise about it, and that was the case kind of against Charlotte as well, right? Like I feel like one of the important things for Philly is you get like if you can nick an early goal, now you really play the game on your terms.
Yep.
Now when the other team comes and tries to press for the equalizer, now you hit them on the counter. Like it's so perfect for Philly, and that's kind of what you saw there against Charlotte. So a professional performance from them, and interesting sort of the post game remarks you hear from Jim Curtin, kind of saying how he thinks Carranza is maybe their Tati Castellanos in the waiting. And I'll tell you what, I think we've said it before, but that could potentially be like the steal of the century.
Mm-hmm.
If he reaches the potential that Miami thought that he would have, but they just couldn't figure out how to utilize him. Because Philly's got that option to buy right on the loan.
Yeah.
So that could be a massive deal for the Union.
Yeah, that's a good pickup. I liked him at Bonfield, and just it never really fit. He never really got much of an opportunity in Miami, honestly.
No.
So, yeah, smart move. And I think he fits the system better than Shabilko did, because the system has evolved in Philadelphia, and it kind of went away from Shabilko's talents, and it goes more towards a Santos, a Carranza, the rest of those guys. I want to ask, last one I want to ask you about is Red Bulls and Revs.
Yeah.
Red Bulls go on the road. 9 points from their first 3 road games.
Yeah.
First time the Red Bulls have ever done that. First MLS team to do that since 2012. That's a good bounce back after what I thought was a kind of bleh performance against Columbus before the break. Great win for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, and similar to what we just said about Philly is they played the way that they were going to play, right? They stifled New England's creativity. Yes, they did it by fouling, but you're within the rules there, right? Like
take what the referee gives you.
100%. And that was, part of Bruce Arena's tirade, or not tirade, I shouldn't say that, but part of
generally good for a tirade.
Yeah. Part of his
rant, maybe
concerns. I don't think it was even a rant. I don't think it was to the rant level. Just
give him a week or two, he'll hit rant.
He'll dial it up.
Yeah. No, but listen, they fouled heel, as teams do. We've seen that, right? Clearly.
Yeah.
Who's their most creative player. And then Coronel was very good when he had to be very good. The funny thing is I was on that match for MLS, and I'm going to be honest, until the own goal, my man of the match was Brad Knighton. Like I thought he was very, very good.
He was.
For the Revs, made a few really big saves. Lewis Morgan had a shocking miss as well, an open goal that he just shanked. But and then yeah, you play a dangerous ball into the back, and now it pinballs around, and all of a sudden it's an own goal, and yeah, that's 9 points on the road, which if you follow that sort of traditional math, right, you get 3 at home and you hope for 1 on the road, and they've flipped that script and they've gotten 9 so far on the road. So yeah, listen, I think one interesting thing here, kind of bigger picture storyline wise, if the Red Bulls can be good again, right? Not only does it make the entire East interesting, it in terms of derbies, it makes that NYCFC Red Bull derby really, really tasty, as is the case right now in LA, right? We've got El Tráfico coming up this week.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's a better time. I mean, I always love, sorry about the name, but I forgot. I just love those matches anyway, right? Regardless of how the teams are, their form and everything. It's just so entertaining. But now, you're talking about 2 teams, LAFC, who's in contention, obviously early goings for the Supporters Shield. They've been fantastic. And the Galaxy, a great result in Portland, and they're playing really well too. So I think 2 teams who are playing really well, going into that match in Carson, on Big Boy Fox as well. That should be a lot of fun.
Both teams with players on the Sofa Score Team of the Week. That is completely unofficial that we do here on SDH. Knighton probably would have been the goalkeeper, but that own goal knocked him down. He was one of the best goalkeepers on the weekend, but Coronel was the highest rated goalkeeper in MLS. Yep. 3 defenders, Murillo of LAFC, Joao Moutinho of Orlando. Orlando loses and gets 2 people in the team of the week, which is bizarre. But 2 good performances from them. Brooks Lennon also made the team of the week from Atlanta. He had the assist on the winning goal. Midfielders, Joao Paulo, Victor Wanyama from Montreal, Jordi Mihailovic from Montreal, and Darwin Quintero. Up front, Kai Kamara with a big day for Montreal, Chicharito with a big day for the Galaxy, and Alexandre Pato for Orlando. But Orlando lost 4-2 to LAFC. And I still have questions about Orlando.
I do too. But I think if you can get production from Pato, I think that's huge, right? Like
yeah,
coming off his injury and really not playing a role last year. I thought he could be a really, really important guy, and then Torres as well scoring. But yeah, questions, I think, especially defensively. There, obviously, you concede 4, but we always sort of look at it. How do you look at a result? Is it John says it a lot. Is it negative towards Orlando, positive towards LAFC? I think LAFC is just rolling. Like, I think they're really, really good right now. Which again, I think makes this match like super fun on Saturday. That definitely the one, that I'm probably most looking forward to.
Let's finish with this, Dylan. The World Cup draw Friday.
Yeah.
We know the group now for the U.S. I have a feeling some people are probably going to get mad about this on either side, depending on how they want to. England and the U.S. drawn together. The tabloids have had a field day in England on this. I was actually happy with the draw. If I didn't get Qatar or Portugal, U.S. England, I'll take out of the potential teams out of that group, far more than some others. And the rest of the group, I think it's manageable. I mean, I think the U.S. should have the expectation. It shouldn't have changed because of this draw, that they should get out of the group and they should go on to the round of 16.
I'm happier with drawing England than I would be if I was Tata Martino right now drawing Argentina.
100%. Well, in the rest of that group too, I think what really changes it for Mexico is having Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh. Messi, and I think in Mexico.
Yeah. I mean, look, and that being said too, if they play to their potential and play better than they've been playing, they could get through as well, right? Mexico can. So, but I think this group sets up really well for the U.S. I just think it's so much fun, just from like the casual fan sort of look. First, obviously, you got England USA, right? That's great. Yeah. You just wish it almost could have been on Thanksgiving, right? Like that would have been like crazy.
That would have been definitely wild.
Obviously, Iran, from a football perspective, they're a dangerous team, right?
They are
a tough opponent to play, but then you've got obviously all those, political connotations there. Mm-hmm. And then whoever comes out of that last 3, if it's Scotland, can you imagine England, Scotland, like Braveheart kind of,
and that'd be the last game.
Yeah.
For them.
Ukraine, obviously, super feel good story there if they're able to get through. And then Wales, I feel like nobody in the group wants Wales just because of what that means,
Gareth Bale.
100% right. So
you don't want to face. I always look in these tournaments. You don't want to face a team with a goalkeeper who can ruin your day. You don't want to face a team that has an attacking player who can ruin your day. And Gareth Bale is that guy. You can say what you want,
obviously, too, right? So that's a concern.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the draw. I definitely like it a lot. I think for the US, I think they should have that expectation of going through, no doubt.
They should. Doesn't mean they do. Doesn't mean they win the group. Doesn't mean anything other than they are the higher ranked team out of anybody else that'll be in that group, depending on that other spot from Europe. They have to beat teams like Iran to get through. That should be the expectation now. And they can play England. They can play England straight up, and England will be favored. They should be favored. There's no way around that. But it's not a guaranteed 3 points for England either. And we've seen this play out. England's never beaten the U.S. at a World Cup, by the way.
Yeah, and that'll be reminded of. They'll be reminded of that. But I feel like, look, in the sort of really, really bigger picture, right? Like, what is a step forward for the U.S., right? Like, so they qualified, right? So check that box. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the eyes are on 2026, and you've got so many young guys right now, right? 20, 22 years old, right? So fast forward 4 years, now they're kind of in the peak in their prime. They're on home soil. So, is it, I don't know, certainly qualifying out of the group is really important. Is it even reaching like the quarterfinals, say, right? Like if you can get to the quarterfinals of the World Cup this year with a really super young team, now you're really looking good going forward, I think, in 4 years. Or even just, even just around the 16, I don't know. Like, I think, but it does start with getting out of the group.
Yeah, for me, like you never know where it can go. You never know how the other group goes. Like and you never know how this one goes. I mean, look, we saw it last time that the U.S. and England were in a group together, and it was all the tabloid headlines and all the ha 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 Yanks, blah 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 blah, and the U.S. won the group, and it flipped where you go in the round of 16. Right. That can happen. I think all you can really focus on if you're Greg Berhalter and U.S. Soccer is getting out of the group. Should be the expectation. It's not a pie in the sky thing. That should be the goal. And then the chips fall where they do.
Yeah. And obviously the big focus for him now is going to be roster build, right? Like those, I don't know, 18 to 23 spots are going to be really interesting right now.
Yeah, and maybe 18 to 26, depending on if they expand this thing as they're talking about. We'll see. We know a little bit about CONCACAF Nations League now, who they'll play in that. I don't think that helps you a ton, except for just getting the guys together and training and playing those games. You'll have a couple more friendlies in June. Uruguay is one that has come up out of the Uruguayan media. Look, Argentina was going to play Mexico in September. They're not now because they're in the same group. The U.S. would probably love to claim that game and play Messi and his squad in the United States in September as one of the last friendlies before the World Cup. You're not going to get the European teams really because of Nations League, unfortunately, because they'll play in September. So you're not going to be able to find a like for like to play England or to play a Scotland or a Wales or somebody who plays in a similar style. It's a little awkward in that kind of preparation, but I like the road that the U.S. is on. I was happy at the end of the draw.
Yeah, I 100% same. I felt exactly the same way.
We'll see where this thing goes. What do you got coming up this week, Dylan?
Soccer related, pretty cool story working on. On Saturday at Red Bull Arena, they have their annual autism, I believe it's called Autism Acceptance Day or Awareness Day, but really kind of cool story on Marc de Grand Prix, their general manager, who his daughter is on the spectrum, and gave up really what would have been a really cool cushiony office, right, like on the 5th floor. Could have also been used as a suite, but they use it as a safe space for autistic children and families, and they lower the lights in there, and it's really, really cool that I think only the Cleveland Cavaliers are the only other professional team that have such a space like that. So kind of doing a little bit of a deeper dive for that. That'll be on OSDB Sports on Friday. So take a look at that.
Very cool. Tag us on that. We'll blast it out for you. That's a very cool initiative from the Red Bulls and Red Bull Arena. It's one of the best arenas.
Say, other teams, listen, it's space that is no doubt. Listen, it's prime real estate, right? Like you could be using it for a suite, you could be selling it for a lot of money. I think this is something that other professional teams need to be doing as well. It's something that affects so many people. Yeah. And just think about it. If you have that in your family and you still want to go to a match, like it's super tricky. And how do you do it? And, I feel like, there's space for, Mercedes. If Kanye can get a place to live in
I'm pretty sure that there is one in Mercedes-Benz.
Okay.
I was actually double checking that right now. I think there is. I don't know exactly where it is.
But that's the other part of it too, right? It could be some places have it, but it's just sort of like an enclosed place.
They do have one, and that's how it's set up here. It's
this is where you watch the match,
right,
as it's unfolding. So like you don't have to kind of suffer from wanting to watch the match, but you can't, right? So I think that's kind of more what I'm getting at. Like,
and the one in Atlanta did open just a couple of weeks ago. It was a new initiative that opened in March. Looking back really quick.
Yeah, so I think it should be something that every professional sports team, if you've got the opportunity to do it, I think they should look into doing this.
Good stuff. Dylan, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys.
Be good.
Make sure you're following Dylan_Butler on your social media platforms. John, I have different music for you with my slightly changed setup. I don't know if you guys at home can really notice it's changed. I flipped a little bit of how I'm producing the show. But here is your song to use to tell everybody about Eliminize. Hold on. Let me turn it down a little bit so I don't blare you out. All right, let's try that again. Tell us about Eliminize, John.
I can certainly do that. Eliminize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, it's Eliminize service. They deodorize enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors and help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. It makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. It's kind to the environment, offering a clean way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. It's different than the masking agents we have under the sink. Whatever room we have our masking agents in, because those masking agents, all they do is they just take care of the odor. They don't take care of the problem. Eliminize service does exactly that with their proven scientific formula that destroys odors down to the molecule. Pricing is easy. One of two ways, either by cubic feet or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less if you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise. One place you need to go. It's their website, eliminize.com, but do us a favor. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from. So it's ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
I made everybody mad with my music choice and the volume of it. So sorry. Geez. My bad. Didn't have the other track on this computer. So that's what you get. Maybe we'll try something else. Maybe I'll just play it louder next time for you and we'll see how that goes. Good times. Okay. So we've had some interesting conversations going on in the Twitch pitch this morning. I've seen, always entertaining. Some of it I'm just going to leave alone. One thing I will respond to Messenger just to be sure here. He says that the U.S. needs to play harder soccer than CONCACAF. You can't. It's kind of the confederation you're in. There's nothing you can do. And you have to play Nations League because UEFA went to their Nations League platform. So you don't have as many opportunities to play European teams. I do think they will play more with South American teams, which is not like European teams. It's a different style, but you get better competition there. They don't have a Nations League. You have to deal with what you have to deal with. And it does change everybody's preparation for the World Cup. The UEFA teams with playing Nations League, they'll get good competition preparing for it, but they won't have the opportunities to play an African team like you normally would if you have an African team in your group or an Asian team or somebody who plays a similar style. So it gets a little weird. But some of the other things, Messenger, I'm sorry, and I'm not trying to upset you, buddy, but thank you for watching and joining the conversation. I have to disagree with you about the Premier League's usage of VAR. I do, and it's not like I'm taking a crazy take here at all. It's pretty much worldwide. Most people are saying this. I think you guys have to use the monitors a little bit more. And I'm okay with not using the monitor in situations where you don't need to, but I think there are too many times that the monitor would help the referee make the better decision. And instead of using it, they're just not getting all the information. That's the whole point of it. I'd love to see the Premier League look at what some other leagues are doing with VAR and do better. I think Italy and the Bundesliga do a much better job with VAR than the Premier League. And absolutely, I think MLS does a better job with VAR than the Premier League. And I think when the Premier League gets it right, it'll help the product. So Refereeing issues happen worldwide. This isn't picking on the Premier League. This isn't picking on anybody. This is referee issue. Refereeing's hard. Refereeing's difficult. VAR is still really new. But I think they would definitely be in a better position if they would look at what works in some other places rather than just not and telling everybody else that they got it wrong. I just don't think that helps you. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think the group is going to be very interesting in the World Cup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun with a lot of talk back and forth between the United States and England and the pundits and the tabloids and all of it. It's going to be very entertaining. England will be favored in that game. It's way too early to even put odds on this kind of stuff, but England will be favored, and they should be. England should win that game. That was what was said going into 2010 as well, and Robert Greene made sure that didn't happen. You get into a one-off and things can happen. I don't think overconfidence will help England in this situation. I don't. I think England, as anybody in this World Cup, I mean, any of the favorites, any of the teams from Pot 1, leave Qatar out of it for a second. Any of the teams in Pot 1 have potholes in their groups. All of them. I mean, Argentina, and I'm a huge Argentina fan, and I think they have a draw they're probably very happy with. Mexico's a team they've seen many times. Argentina's gotten the better of them, but that doesn't guarantee you anything the next time. You've got Lewandowski in that group. Lewandowski can wreak havoc on it. The World Cup is a different animal, and we do the draw, and we all have these conversations about it. If Harry Kane gets hurt, different conversation completely. If Harry Maguire brings some of his Manchester United form to England, different conversation. For the U.S., if Christian Pulisic gets hurt and doesn't play in the World Cup, completely different conversation. Like it's the World Cup is such a short period of time that 4 years build up to that there are no guarantees in it. It's very rare that we see the favorite 6 months out win the World Cup. I can't think of a time that happened, honestly. I mean, not since you could maybe go back in the day before my time. I mean, 86 Argentina wasn't the favorite by far. I mean, even the Argentine media said they'd get bounced early. They won it. 90 West Germany was a favorite, but I think most people thought that was going to be Italy's World Cup, and it wasn't. They got knocked out. England made an incredible run in 90. I loved that England team in 90. The England-Cameroon game, quarterfinal, is one of the best games I've ever seen. And Paul Gascoigne, one of my all-time favorites. I loved that England team in that tournament. They were a lot of fun to watch. 4 years later, they didn't make it. 94, a lot of people looked at Germany. They didn't have a great tournament. A lot of people looked at Argentina with Maradona back and how they looked in the first couple games. Well, then you have the issue with the ephedrine use, and he gets kicked out. 98, France hadn't been to 94, but they're at home. But I don't know if they were the favorite going into that. I think Brazil was, and they lost in the final. 02? 02 was weird all the way around. I mean, I remember Portugal being a favorite, and the U.S. beat them in the first game. 06, Germany wasn't a favorite at home. They did about what you would expect. Italy was coming off of Calciopoli. Nobody saw them winning that thing. 10, Spain maybe is one of the most favorite teams to win. Maybe. Because they were coming off of the Euros in 08. They were on a dominant run. Maybe they were one of the most favorited teams to win a World Cup. 14, it was Brazil's tournament, wasn't it? Everybody thought that was going to be Brazil's tournament. Everybody thought Brazil was going to do it, and they lost 7-1. That's the thing about a World Cup is you get these surprises in it, and that's what's so amazing about it. And there's always somebody who makes a surprise run. It was Croatia in 18. I was England to the semis in 18. I mean, full credit to that. Southgate has gotten them further and further and further. Is this the tournament they break through? Semifinal in 18, a final in the Euros. Is this the one where they break through? Find out in November and December. Weirdest time to be doing this stuff. I think that, Modiflow, the more I think about it, I think the Spain one, you mentioned the Olympic gold medals is too. Oh, no, you're talking about Uruguay in 30. Yeah. But I mean, I'm talking modern times, of course. And they hosted that thing in 30, and a bunch of the top European teams didn't get on the boat literally to come across the Atlantic to get there because it was like a 2-week journey to get to Uruguay for the World Cup in 1930. But Spain in 2010 is maybe the biggest favorite going in that won it in modern times. I love the tournament. I'm excited about it. We've talked about everything else around it and all the other stories that are going to be part of this. And again, you buy a World Cup to host it. You want to change the perception of your country. Well, you're going to get a lot of attention. I don't know if you're going to change the perception. We'll find out. I don't have Jarrett's music. He's just going to walk in the door. What's up, Jarrett?
That's anticlimactic.
Well, I played music for John's read and people got mad. So
what's wrong with the music?
It was
different. And people got no. John was trying to find the right tone for the music, which was good.
Okay.
But the music was loud.
John's
and
a professional.
It was a hot read.
John is a professional, so I would.
I'm trying to throw you off sometimes, John. You try to throw me off on a daily basis, so I'm trying to throw you off with a music choice. You have to react. Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. All right, we got a bunch of stuff to talk about after taking a sidebar through history. Let's get into what we got today. Champions League, Manchester City hosting Atleti, Benfica hosting Liverpool. Let's start with the second game first because I think it's the one that's a little more cut and dried. Liverpool's a minus 250 coming into this. Benfica at home is a plus 650, draw plus 375. Benfica comes in after a loss, first loss in 10 on Friday. They are not in a guaranteed spot to make it back to the Champions League next year. Portugal only gets 2 guaranteed spots. Liverpool won their 10th consecutive league game on Saturday. Does Liverpool win on the road and make this a far more comfortable second leg at home, John?
Yes, I think they do.
I think they do too. And it's interesting you got Liverpool and Manchester City here because Manchester City's next 4 games and Liverpool's next 4 games, they play Benfica twice and they play Manchester City twice. Manchester City's got it a little more difficult. They play Atleti at home today. Then they play Liverpool. Then they play in Spain on the 13th. Then they play Liverpool again in the FA Cup. Everybody's zeroing in on Pep versus El Cholo Simeone. And look, I think some of the conversation, and again, sorry, Messenger, I'm not picking on you. But if you hang around long enough, you'll get a sense of this. The English media, I think, is completely portraying Diego Simeone's Atleti in the wrong light. Yes, when they have leads, and yes, when they are killing off games, they know the dark arts very well. They know we're going to waste time here. We're going to run somebody down when you're about to take a throw to distract you. We're going to do these things. Yes, they know all of those tactics, but that's not how you play for 90 minutes. They are incredibly well coached and they are incredibly well organized. And Pep and El Cholo, they haven't played in a long time against one another. 6 years. Last time they played, Atleti knocked Bayern out in the Champions League semifinals and really prevented, I think, Pep from having the time at Bayern that, some people still look at as a little incomplete. Didn't get to a Champions League final. Couple things about these teams. City average almost 67% possession across all competitions. Atleti 48.8% possession across all 48 matches. When you look at balls played into the box, though, it's fairly similar. Simeone, he's not as worried about possession. It's about staying compact. It's about being very aggressive defensively, creating mistakes from the opposition, pouncing on it. Considering what he has had to work with at Atleti, which is not what Pep has had to work with generally in the stops he's been at in terms of overall talent, I think you have to say that Simeone has been just as successful. Different approach. They're not purely defensive, though. Let's not play that game. And they're not purely dark arts either. That's the part that frustrates me because it's really, I think, disrespectful to the work that Simeone's done. You've got Joao Felix, who is finally putting it all together right now. You've got Cunha, Correa, Griezmann, Suarez coming off the bench right now. You've got attacking talent that a lot of teams would want, and they play great attacking soccer when it's the right time to play that. They do. Flip side, everybody talks about City as just a possession team and just a team that knocks the ball around. And don't say tiki-taka to Pep. He'll probably smack you. But people will throw that term at Pep. City and their pressure is about as good as it gets in the Premier League. Liverpool has forced more high turnovers than Manchester City. Brighton has forced 5 more. City's third. City ranks second when it comes to the average starting distance of their attacks from their own goal. Liverpool's first. So City, it's funny the way these two teams match up, because City is a possession team, pretty on the ball, pretty on the eye, but they can be suffocating when they don't have the ball to win it back. Atleti can be compact. They can be defensive. They can be suffocating when they do have to step out and press and try to cause that error from you. But then they can score amazing, wonderful, beautiful goals with that attack. And when Joao Felix is on song like he is right now. So you've got this weird like matchup between these two that are like almost different shades of the managers and their approaches, which are definitely different, but there's similarity and there's crossover on the back end with both of them. It's going to be, from a tactical perspective, if you love the thinking part of the game and how teams come together, this is going to be a blast to watch. The odds, I'm honestly blown away by these right now. Manchester City's a minus 303. Atleti's a plus 900. The draw in Manchester today is a plus 375. Jared, I know those big numbers generally get you excited.
They
How
do.
are you feeling about these with El Cholo?
Look, I think we went over this last time. But, like, you can't really doubt the man, because he's going to. He kind of turns into an alligator snapping turtle, where they just kind of latch on and they don't let go till they hear thunder. And I kind of think that doesn't matter here, because I think City is determined to just burn down all comers. I don't think that's not to say they're going to blow Atleti off the field. I think Jolo will be able to put up a good fight, but I think City's just going to be too much for them, and their ability. And we know they can press, but in their ability to create and have those individual moments and get at a team that wants to defend in such a dogged manner. I think City has enough of those brilliant individual moments to get them through.
So you're not jumping on the draw or Atleti pulling something off?
I'm not jumping on the draw or Atleti pulling something off, especially in England. In England, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, get it right. Okay. I thought you would. John, what about you?
I want to. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I'm choosing not to do it. Also, I'm choosing to giggle and wait to see how many pundits start picking Cholo to take over some job in England.
No, people that go the pearl clutching. Oh my goodness.
Oof.
Oh, the pundits would have a field day, and El Cholo would have a field day headbutting people.
Nah, Cholo's not going there. You want my wild take here on what happens over the next year?
Sure, why not?
National team.
Yeah, Scaloni gets a very interesting coaching job after a good run with Argentina. He goes to the club and goes to a club and makes a good bit of money. Cholo decides it's time to walk away from Atleti and takes over the Argentine national team.
See, but I do think I think his time has come. I don't think that's inaccurate.
I think I think
the time has come for him to walk away.
No, I wouldn't say it that way. No, I wouldn't say it that way, because he continually gets it. Like, even when I thought that a couple years ago, and then he won La Liga. I mean, it's just, they all believe in him. They believe in him, and they believe in what he wants to do, and he's an incredible motivator. He gets it right, and he's got Atleti where they are right now, and they can knock out City. If Atleti knocks City out, I'm not blown away or shocked by it. Like, I'm not. It's crazy. He could walk away because I don't think there's anything else for him outside of winning another Champions League. I don't think there's anything else for him to accomplish to be the best manager Atleti's ever had and be one of the best that La Liga's ever had. I think he's continually accomplishing things, but there's nothing new outside of getting a Champions League right now. Okay. He could leave at any point, but he could also stay there and keep doing what he's doing because they are that third team in Spain. They are not Real Madrid, who is looking to be very, very sad right now because of the reports out of France that Kylian Mbappe is going to stay at Paris. I'm sure Florentino Perez is just a mess right now, and so is El Chiringuito and everybody in Madrid.
It's gonna be a fun
But
one.
Atleti's not that team. They're not Barcelona. They're the third. So they're not expected to win La Liga every year. But Cholo's got them to a point where they're expected to win it sometimes. And they're expected to make runs in Champions League. And he could continue to do that for 10 more years if he wanted to. And I'm not worried about it falling apart for him. But he could also go seek another challenge. He, I think, is at a point. I wouldn't say it's time for him to go, Jared. I think it's at a point where he could choose to do anything he wants to do right now, and it would probably be the right decision. He's earned that opportunity to call a shot.
I could see that. I want to see what happens with the rest of Spain too. I guess here's my question: does Atleti? Does anybody in Atleti's money-making positions decide, hey, we might need to change it up because Barcelona ain't as dead as they were, and Real Madrid's probably going to go out here and acquire a railgun one way or another.
You know,
do we stick with what we've been doing because it gets results, or do you do the very dangerous thing of if you move on from somebody, you better have somebody. If you actively move on from somebody who's not a collapsing star, you better make sure you have somebody better lined up.
Well, in this case, Atleti's not moving on from Cholo. It'd be Cholo moving on because he wants to. I think that's a key here. But Atleti, they can't pull that trigger and decide to be something they're not. They can't out Barcelona, and they can't out Real Madrid. They're not going to be signing the Galacticos. They're not going to be able to develop the DNA that Barcelona has. And look, we've seen how important that DNA is with Xavi taking over and how fast it's happened. You know, I mean, Xavi walks in the door and it's like, it's going to take him time. He doesn't have a lot of experience, blah, blah, blah. They've won more games in a row than anybody in Europe in the big leagues. They're killing it. And it's because he can walk in there and he can sit down and have a conversation with Pedri and Gavi and all these young talents and teenagers who are playing at this level. And all the training, and look, La Masia has had its ups and downs. Every development portion of a club does. But he can sit there and speak their language straight away, not their spoken language, their football language. And he can put it in place straight away because of the DNA. Atleti can't change their DNA like that. They can't be Barcelona and they can't be Real Madrid because they can't spend like Real Madrid. They have to find the counter approach. And it's worked with Simeone. The counter approach has been compact, defensive, have that attacking flair when you can play against a team that you can kind of dominate in that way, but also have that defensive ability to sit back and frustrate the opposition and cause those turnovers and do those things. If Cholo leaves, I think they have to stay to that. I think they have to stay to that idea. We'll see. Fourcard, you might be right. Fourcard says he's not going to leave. He'll be there, Sir Alex Ferguson. He could be. He'll get that choice. I think at this point, in 2019 going into 20 before the pandemic, it was looking bad for him there. And it was looking like, okay, he might not get that choice. They might ask him to go. With what he's done since, yeah, he'll decide when his time is up, barring a complete falling apart that I just don't see. So it's fascinating. Rich Ransom says that Atleti might need to call Fernando Torres from the academy. Look, Atleti's the third one there. And in a lot of leagues worldwide, we haven't seen anybody do what Atleti's done. There's not a team in Germany that has proven to be that counterweight to Bayern. In Spain, in Italy, Juventus won forever. Now Inter's taking it. Now it's kind of a crapshoot because everybody's kind of fallen off. So I don't think there's really a counterweight. I don't know if there is a weight at the top. In England, Chelsea started running away from people. Then they've been passed by Liverpool and Manchester City. They've kind of been that counterweight a little bit under Tuchel, but that's going to go away, at least temporarily, as they go through an ownership change and everything going on with them. City and Liverpool just feel like they've run away. Real Madrid and Barcelona haven't run away from Atleti. And that's down to Simeone and what he's done. It's incredible. And I just get really frustrated when it's like, oh, it's all dark arts. It's all dark arts. No. Being defensive, being a compact team, that's not dark arts. Dark arts are running the clock out. Dark arts are doing what Henry Kessler did and throwing the ball from the stanchion into the stands. Dark arts are your goalkeeper, pulling a calf muscle when he's getting ready to take a goal kick to waste time. Dark arts are all those kinds of things. Being defensive, being compact, being a counterattacking team, that's not dark arts.
We don't talk nearly enough about that Henry Kessler play because it was outstanding.
I try to bring it up at every opportunity.
And it made Philadelphia so mad.
Yep,
and you know organizations around the league saw that and just laughed.
And they filed it away too. It's like, yeah, we'll remember that one for later. We might have a time to use that one too.
Yeah, it should have made Philadelphia mad. I hope nobody else does that one because it will possibly start a brawl on the field next time it happens. Rumor and innuendo, and then we'll get into the lay of the land in Copa Libertadores and Sudamericana. We'll get a few questions before we wrap up. Rumor and innuendo right now. Mentioned the Mbappe situation. This has become a matter of state in France and Qatar. According to French journalist Romain Molina, Emmanuel Macron has intervened to try to persuade Mbappe to stay at PSG. And the reports out of France are that he is going to sign a new deal with PSG, and he's not going to Real Madrid. You've got the leader of the country, Jarrett, asking Mbappe to stay in country and not go to Real Madrid.
Yep. The closest thing I could consider it here is if, like, the governor of Alabama went to Nick Saban's house and
I could buy that happening.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I could see that happening.
Yeah,
now,
Kay Ivey would be right.
Kay Ivey at the door. Now, Nick, listen, let's not do anything rash.
Let's think about this for a second. What do you need from us?
Emmanuel Macron trying to lock up the vote in Paris is amazing, and probably torpedoing some of the vote in the areas outside of Paris.
He's not worried about the vote in Marseille. He's worried about the vote in Paris. Yes.
It's just amazing. It's hilarious because, aside from, like, you can't imagine the U.S. president going to, like, and I don't think Joe Biden was at Tom Brady's door like, Tom, I need one more year out of you. Please don't do this.
I'm going to assume no, that was not part of it.
Oh, man. Do what you must, especially in times of national crisis, and I'm sure that Emmanuel Macron and soccer fans within Ligue 1 view this as a national crisis, and that you must seal off the borders and keep Mbappe here in France. Absolutely.
Yeah. Byrne brings up that's good news for Erling Haaland. It could be. There have been some rumors that there is a new mystery team in the Erling Haaland sweepstakes, and it's not Barcelona. I don't.
We're just ripping off baseball writers at this point.
Yes, that I'm like, okay, well then who is it? Like, who's the mystery team? Who could it be? I mean, there's only so many teams that could afford him. Who is it? I don't know. Yeah, that's loads of fun. And then you take the trickle down into other guys who could be moving. Robert Lewandowski's name has come up. Robert Lewandowski and Barcelona. That link has continued to come up. According to Matteo Moretto, there have been at least 2 meetings between Joan Laporta and Pini Zahavi in recent weeks in Barcelona. They have an excellent relationship in getting this deal potentially done, and to the point that in AS in Spain, they are linking the possibility of money going from Barcelona to Bayern for Robert Lewandowski, along with Serginho Dest going from Barcelona to Bayern. And we know that Bayern wanted Dest to begin with when he left the Netherlands. So many times these talks of a player trade with money and a make weight seem to be the term that everybody loves to use, which never happens. It doesn't happen. Like, so many times this comes up, it just doesn't happen. In this one, who knows? But Dest has been linked back and forth with potentially leaving Barcelona. Lewandowski leaving Bayern. Is Bayern the mystery team for Erling Haaland? They've never spent that kind of money.
That would be hilarious, though, if they're like, Lewandowski's gone. What are we going to do? Oh, we got this covered.
Yeah. I mean,
as long as he stays healthy.
You know, it could happen. Other rumor and innuendo, Ronald Araujo, the Barcelona and Uruguay defender, set to ignore other offers from Manchester United and Liverpool and renew his contract at Barcelona, according to ESPN. Newcastle interested in signing Kepa or Spanish goalkeeper Robert Sanchez from Brighton to strengthen their goalkeeping options this summer. I still don't think they really need to strengthen their goalkeeping options, but okay. Juan Mata, Fabrizio Romano dropped this on Twitter yesterday. When his deal runs out in June and he's out of contract, he is not planning on retiring or joining Manchester United's coaching staff.
Future MLS legend Juan Mata.
Man, I would love to see Juan Mata in MLS. And he's one of those guys. I know he's 33. I'd bring him in. I'd love to see him in this league. I think he'd do a good job. I think he's got a lot to give. He hasn't played a whole lot over the last few years.
Have a whole lot of tread on the tires the last couple of years.
He's fresh. Milan are really close to getting the Sven Botman deal done from Lille. Sven Botman has been talked about nonstop for 6 months, it feels like. Fabrizio Romano says that it is advancing as planned. Milan are working to reach the full agreement with Lille, and it'd be done in the summer. Botman is ready to accept. A couple MLS/USMNT updates. Bild is reporting that MLS clubs have their eyes on St. Pauli center back / captain Philippe Zeris. His contract's up in the summer. Red Bulls were interested in 2018. He elected to stay in Germany. He is represented by Patrick Williams of the Wasserman Group with a lot of U.S. ties. So Zeris of St. Pauli, center back, could be headed this way, and Red Bulls have been interested in the past. I don't know if they really need him, though. Cameron Carter-Vickers, Jarrett, edging closer to a permanent Celtic deal, according to Fraser Wilson. 3 Premier League teams have entered the race, though. He wants Champions League football.
He's very likely going to get Champions League football next year, and because of the work that Rangers have done in the coefficient that Celtic is about to just take advantage of, he might go straight to the group stage. So,
Jared, I forgot to have this discussion with you about the glass on the pitch this past weekend.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Talk about that.
Add Scotland to the list of idiots who are throwing things on the field. Morons. Stop doing it.
Well, I mean, they might lose. Tickets. There's a very good chance they're going to lose their allocation for the game at Celtic Park next time they play. Frank, I don't care about that. Make them play behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's not.
They can play behind closed doors.
Don't make it a stupid partisan thing, because then all of them will be pointing. Oh, it's Celtic.
Well, there was a really
just make them play behind closed doors.
There was a good breakdown someone had on one of the subreddits about it, and it was opinion, so keep that in mind, about the way Brexit talks and the Scottish independence talks have kind of created this animosity among some Rangers fans, of feeling like it is them against everyone in Scotland, because a lot of them do carry unionist ties. Right. And it's not a blanket statement. It's a dangerous statement to make as a blanket that every Rangers fan is like that, or every Celtic fan is like this or that or the other. But that you have some that feel like the overall feeling of Scottish independence be growing over there has Rangers fans kind of feeling like it's us against the world. And the more you when they lash out like this, the more you punish them, you are going to have to balance the fact that they're going to feel even more like that, even if that's totally irrational because they are acting completely out of pocket at times. You had one of the people on the Celtic coaching staff had to get stitches because he got hit with something. You had glass in the penalty box right by in the 18 just before the start of the second half. It was dumb. It took away from what was actually a really entertaining game because Rangers jumps out and scores in the not Jack Wilshere. Who was it? It was the broken Englishman that they brought over from Italy. Anyway. It's Ramsey. Aaron Ramsey scores in the third minute. Yeah. It looks like it's going to be a runaway. Celtic ties it, scores it right before the half, and then just kind of go into a block. And Rangers puts in like 50-something crosses, I think 40 or 50-something crosses. Like it was an entertaining game. It was hard hitting, but it wasn't necessarily dirty. It was fun, and it got ruined by that crap. So there you go, John. I'll walk away.
Yeah. One thing, I could honestly give a flying crap about how Rangers fans feel about whatever. It doesn't give them the right to throw things and not be punished. What I would do, and I'd be very clear, I'm not taking away their allotment from going to Celtic Park. That will create drama. Making them play behind closed doors, period, for a while, as every team who has glass thrown on the field should get. If they want to try to point at us against the world, everybody hates us, whatever nonsense, I honestly could give a flying crap. They need to be punished. That's insane. And this is why I get so freaking angry about this happening on a regular basis, because it progresses. Throwing a plastic cup, throwing papers, throwing plastic cups of beer at people. Stupid, idiotic. When you don't have the proper punishments and it continues to get publicity, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do because I'm all mad because my team lost. Then you start throwing glass at people. Then people have to get stitches. Mm-hmm. That's when it's getting to a whole nother point. I could give a crap about what they're going to say about whatever punishment they get. They should have to play behind closed doors for a long time. A long time. An opposing coach got hit with glass. There's no justification.
Zero.
None.
Nope.
Ban them. Whoever threw it, arrest them. That's assault.
Uh-huh.
It has to be treated this way because when it's not, the next stupid, drunken moron who can't handle a loss or a bad call or whatever is going to throw something else that's going to hurt somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's absurd. And I know that's not, you're not trying to give them an out, Jarrett, but I don't care about what they're feeling. They have to play behind closed doors. Period. And if their fans do this, then it's not a Celtic thing to take an allotment away because that's going to create more stupid drama between these two clubs that can't agree on anything. Everybody should take their allotment away from travel. That's what it has to start being. I don't care what they feel. Don't throw glass. Like that.
I don't disagree. I mean,
I'll go out on that limb and break the limb and beat somebody over the head with it if that's what we got to do. Like I don't care. Like it keeps getting worse, and it's not acceptable in any form. And they have to know that it's not acceptable in any form. And if that means they can't travel, period, that should be the conversation. And I'm really disappointed in Scotland that it's not. I'm not seeing anything about like they should play behind closed doors or they shouldn't be allowed to travel. Or
a lot of that conversation's been pushed by the fans, not by the SFA, by the way.
The SFA and the
just
pundits.
So we're clear, it's the fans who are pushing that and not the league, and that's the problem. Like it should be pushed by the league of, hey,
the league should have immediately come out and said, this is unacceptable. This is not happening. There will be severe punishments. The people who did it are not going to be at any SPFL games or any SFA games or anything. And yes, whoever threw the bottle that had to bust open somebody from Celtic, that person's going to be charged with assault. Mm-hmm. Like it's got to go to that point. There is nothing that we can just laugh it off. There's nothing that we can say, well, punishment, blah, 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 blah. No. It's so absurd. Burns says Bockham never got punished for getting a referee concussed by a beer thrower. That's ridiculous. He never found the guy. It is absolutely ridiculous. And if you can't find the guy, then they absolutely should be punished. And these things are going to have to start ramping up. They're going to have to start getting ramped up. There's just no acceptance for this in the game. There shouldn't be. It can't be allowed. If there's not going to be punishments, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse.
On a more positive side of this conversation between these two teams, per Jason Nix's question, should CCV be called in before the World Cup? Yes, I think he should, but call him in. And Jason and I talked about this, and Jason chastised me because I was getting, I guess, faux angry. Call in CCV for like a friendly. I think he has earned that. He's not going to start above anybody on the national team. Don't get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's earned a call in for like next time you have a chance to play friendlies. Even if that's after the World Cup, so be it.
Yeah.
The work he's done there has been huge. He scored the what ended up being the winning goal. He was an absolute monster at the back for them. CCV is working his way into that conversation of being a guy who comes in when you have friendlies and you're working guys in of, hey, we're going to take a flyer and see how this guy does in our national team camp. That's where he should be.
You're not going to get a normal World Cup prep. And I feel like this is going to be.
That's why I said if it's after the World Cup, so be it.
You got 6 games. You got 6 games, and you got 2 of them already booked because of CONCACAF Nations League. You got 2 games in June. Looks like they're going to play 2 more friendlies in June. You got 2 games. You're not going to squeeze a third in. You shouldn't, but you could if you're a degenerate in September. That's it. That's all you get. You might get one probably behind closed doors a couple days after getting guys into camp and playing a scrimmage against somebody somewhere in the Middle East before you get ready for game 1. Playing on the Monday, the first day of the tournament, you're probably not even going to get that. You got 6 games. You don't have time to really experiment too much. You're going to bring in your full group that you would expect to call in if the World Cup started tomorrow. You're going to bring that in for those June games. I mean, if you have injuries or whatever in September, you might have to look at somebody, but you have to make a decision on what your team is like now. You just don't have the prep like you normally would. And you're not going to have the ability to play everybody like you normally would. It's going to be hard to get European teams because of their UEFA Nations League. You're probably going to have CONCACAF and CONMEBOL work together to get games. You've got Africa and Asia. Uruguay, for example, talked about Cameroon reaching out and trying to set up a game. But looks like the U.S. is going to play them. I'd love to see the U.S. play Argentina because that's just a great test, and you get that in September. Okay. Replace Mexico, play it in LA in front of 100,000 people and have that experience. Great. But it's going to be a whole different run. CCV, I think, is borderline getting into the national team to be part of the 26. If it's going to be a 26-man roster, I think that might put him in.
I don't think you do. I think if you're looking for center backs, I think you're looking at guys like, John Brooks is going to be part of that.
Brooks should be.
Chris Richards seems to, last time I checked, is doing really good work.
I mean, CCV's right there. Like, I think Brooks is a better player, but his form hasn't been there. So that's going to be the question. Where he goes club-wise is going to be a huge factor for Brooks because he's leaving Wolfsburg. Where he ends up is very important. Where CCV ends up is very important. He's right there on the borderline. I think people made it, and this is where your faux anger came in. You left this part out where you were making it a CCV Sands conversation about the last U.S. roster.
It's because I was also petty about James Sands not even getting into the game the other day, which that's an entirely different conversation about. I don't know what the hell is going on with James Sands at Rangers.
I don't either.
But he's not playing. He's come off the bench some. He's started, I think, 3 or 4 games, including European games. But from what I've understood, the fans love him. He's put in good performances. I don't know if he doesn't fit what Van Bronckhorst is doing or what, but it has not. It hasn't gone the way he probably expected it to go.
No, it's not. But he was on that. I think he was listed as a center back, and he can play center back. He
was a Swiss Army guy.
Yeah, he was your cover at the 6. He was your cover at right back. He was your cover at center back. That's why he was on that roster for the U.S. last time.
If you're worried about him going, if you're worried about CCV, I mean, depending on where he's going, England would be interesting, and I could see the appeal of it. He'll get Champions League opportunities and Europa League opportunities at Celtic. He'll get plenty of playing time. They love him. I'm pretty sure he would start as many games as he wanted to without his legs falling off. But if some English team calls him and says, "Hey, come here, earn a spot," and maybe you get more attention from your national team coach, I can see the appeal.
Yeah, I mean, I think Berhalter's probably fairly close to settling on Zimmerman and Robinson as his two center backs. They've been great together. I think it's going to be hard to break that pairing up. Of course, form and injuries can change between now and then, but I think that might be your pairing, and you're looking for reserves that give you other things. And you're talking about Brooks, you're talking about CCV, you're talking about Aaron Long, you're talking about Richard, you're talking about McKenzie. You've got a bunch of different players there that you're going to be considering. We'll see. It is going to be a weird ramp up. You're not going to have as many, I think, shocks brought into World Cup rosters because you just don't have the normal opportunity for them to earn time. We'll see. Other stuff tonight before we get into some questions. If you have them, go ahead and fire them off. One thing I will say before we get into the last games tonight, if you are going or if you're planning on coming to our event on Thursday at Elsewhere Brewing in Grant Park, we will have special guests from Atlanta United. We will have our friends from the Argentine consulate there, some special music beforehand, some special food options at Elsewhere Brewing. Really cool spot if you haven't been, but it will be a special kind of an evening, and it will be packed and it will be full, and we have limited capacity. We do still have a few spots on the list to guarantee entry, and if you're not on the list, then you're going to have to hope that there's availability to get in. If you are planning on coming and you are an SDH listener, you need to let me know by the end of the day today, and the sooner the better before the list fills up. So let me know, and you need to let me know how many people are coming, because it's not you plus one. There's no plus ones. It's literally a list of certain number of spots. We're in the 20s with how many spots are left. So if you're coming, and I'd highly recommend that you do, especially if you're an Atlanta United fan, let me know today to guarantee your spot. And even if you let me know like tonight, you might not have a spot. So let me know as soon as you can if you're coming on Thursday. The show being broadcast on Twitch will start at 7 o'clock, maybe 7:15. 7 o'clock hour is what we're shooting for. And we'll run till about 8:39. So, but the festivities will start before that. I think 5:30 is what we're looking at for starting that. So hope to see y'all. But if you're coming and you want to get in, you better let me know today and as soon as possible. Okay, other games today on the board before we get into questions. Fire the questions off in the Twitch pitch. We'll try to grab as many of those as we can before we get out the door. Copa Libertadores returning. Group stage starts today. You've got Caracas hosting Atlético Paranaense of Brazil. You've got Club Always Ready from Bolivia hosting Corinthians. Deportivo Cali hosting Boca is 8:30 tonight in Group E. That is a big one. Group G, I will be looking at Colón and Peñarol. Pulga Rodriguez of Colón. Colón's been very good lately. That's an interesting match with Peñarol of Uruguay. Olimpia hosting Cerro Porteño. Sporting Cristal and Flamengo. Libertadores games. Sudamericana kicks off today as well. Banfield hosting Santos is a very interesting game in the Sudamericana. Jorge Wilstermann, who made a run last year, they are at Everton de Viña del Mar. Universidad Católica of Ecuador hosting Unión La Calera. Liga de Quito is on the road against Atlético Goianense. Independiente is on the road in Sudamericana at Sierra. And you also have CONCACAF Champions League semifinal leg 1 in Mexico. Pumas hosting Cruz Azul. And on top of all that, you got the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup second round starting today. You got Charlotte Independence hosting North Carolina Fusion. Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Bob Lilly will be yelling at them as they host the Maryland Bobcats of NISA. You got a rivalry match. Detroit City hosting Michigan Stars. Tampa Bay Rowdies hosting the Villages, Jarrett.
Oh. Villages, it was a good time.
Yeah,
I hope you enjoyed your day.
Yeah, I think that's
because I haven't seen you play. I know you did a number to the Orlando Wolves, I believe, Orlando City Wolves.
Yeah.
I've seen what Tampa is. I don't necessarily think you want any of that,
especially after the goalless draw they had last weekend against Oakland in Oakland.
Yeah, they're tired. They're angry. They're just going to want to hold you in place and make sure there's nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jason, our hopes and dreams are still alive for a Tampa Orlando next round because holy God.
Yeah, go ahead and ramp up the security if the Rowdies win tonight. Go ahead and start hiring people for security just in case that draw happens on Friday. Indy 11 hosting St. Louis City 2. That is at 7:30 tonight. Union Omaha hosting Des Moines Menace tonight. FC Tulsa hosting the Tulsa Athletics. The Tulsa Derby at 8:30. San Antonio FC hosting Defeaters Kicks SC. They pulled the upset on the Diablos last time around. New Mexico United hosting the Las Vegas Legends that are not coached by Eric Winalda, but I think are consulted with Eric Winalda.
I think the Twitch pitch is a very pro Villages Twitch pitch, by the way.
The Twitch pitch is drunk at 11 o'clock in the morning. Central Valley Fuego is hosting El Paso Locomotive, and Orange County SC hosting Los Angeles Force. That is the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup tonight. Start of round 2.
Just a piece of news to keep an eye on. You were discussing what was going on with matchups in Libertadores. Remember, there are protests going on in.
This is tomorrow for Peru and River is what's really being talked about here.
Yeah. The president in Peru has imposed a curfew in Lima and the port city of Callao following nationwide protests over rising fuel and fertilizer prices. On Sunday, the government announced that they would scrap the fuel tax, but truck drivers and farmers have blocked roads in the country on Monday. So keep an eye on that. The president has announced a curfew after meeting with his council of ministers. So keep an eye on the action that would be happening in Peru in the tournament.
There was some talk earlier that the game could get moved to another location. Now it looks like on TIC, the talk is more about will it be suspended and not played at this time. Not sure yet, but some of the scenes out of Peru are absolute chaos. So it's not looking good for that game to take place tomorrow with River and Alianza Lima. I don't think we have any Peruvian teams at home in this set of fixtures that I am seeing. I think any Peruvian teams playing right now are on the road. Yeah, there's no Peruvian teams at home tonight in CONMEBOL play. All right, keep an eye on that. But yeah, TIC is all over what's going on. I don't know if River is in the country right now or not. I'm not sure if they are in Lima or not. Try to get a clarification on that if I can before we go. All right, questions on the Twitch pitch before we go. We will take some right
now. More of a statement with a clarification having to do with our Dylan Butler discussion. Okay. Michael Head was saying that to MLS, and this is a point that we've made consistently, that MLS still needs a centralized VAR center. He doesn't understand why they don't have it yet.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, different places do it different ways. I think it'd be the easiest thing to do. I think it would lead to better quality, more consistency. The number one thing I would do first is have dedicated video assistant referees, and I would make that step first. And then you can put them all in the same place. And I think then it would be easier to expand VAR to USL Championship and beyond. You start to increase that pool of dedicated video assistant referees. They're not coming from your referee pool. I don't want my best referees doing a shift in the VAR booth. I want them on the field. I want the referees who are good at video assistant referee. I don't want them working on the field. I want them as a VAR. It's a specialized task. It needs to be treated as such. That's the first step I would take. And then maybe a little bit further down the road, look to expand it. But I think they need to create their own pool first of people. Then they can keep that pool of people going to the same place to do their jobs. And that's the key I would make. So I mean, maybe it's a hand-in-hand move, Michael. I don't know. But I think you need to create your own pool of video assistant referees first. That I think is the important move.
In our MLS discussion, question from Shiva: will Vela stay?
I mean, we don't know yet. I don't have a magic 8-ball. I might get one just so we can refer to it from time to time and see what it tells us. Who knows? He's a weird guy. Like I have no way to call that. The fact that his contract's up at the end of June is bizarre in and of itself. If he gets an offer from Spain that he likes, probably not. If he doesn't, probably so. I mean, could somebody else come in and change it? Like if Club America comes in and throws an insane amount of money in front of him as they try to change their image, maybe that is something that flips all this. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know where this goes, but I really don't know. And it just really isn't getting talked about very much. And there's not really anything coming out of Los Angeles on it. So wish I could tell you, Shiva, but the magic 8-ball is not here to tell me because I have no idea.
All right, Jarrett, World Cup question having to do with Group B. Christopher Abel asks, do you think the U.S. could beat England?
We talked about that, John.
Did they?
Yes.
Well, then we'll go to the follow-up question.
We talked about, can the U.S. beat England? Yes, the U.S.
What's
can beat
the follow-up?
Yes, we talked about that when we were talking about the group.
And yes, Christopher Abel's asking, don't we play a team from Group A if we get out of group, which is Qatar's group of Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and the Netherlands.
First place in Group A plays second place in Group B and reverse it. Second place in Group A plays first place in Group B.
Yeah. So I mean, that could be the Dutch. It could be Senegal if you get out of Group B. First step is getting out of Group B. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But then, yeah, you're playing whoever it is from Group A, and then you go from there.
No, and no, KFC, I am not running centralized VAR for the show this morning. That is definitely not the case.
Oh, and hey, and sorry, I was wrong.
That's on a 56K modem, by the way.
No, forget that. Sporting Cristal is at home tonight for Peru, in Peru. They're hosting Flamengo, and I just saw on the crawl on TIC that Flamengo, I mean, they're there. Obviously, they're supposed to play tonight. They are not leaving their hotel right now. I think they've been told not to leave their hotel. So keep that in mind at the moment. And I can't tell if River's there or not. I think there are reporters on the ground from TIC in Lima, but I don't know if River as a team is already there. They could be. Flamengo is because they're supposed to play tonight. It has not been canceled as of yet.
Also on the board, burned in our discussion about Champions League and specifically El Cholo. He says that Simeone's made so much money at Atleti, and deservedly so, he can afford to work for the AFA for a couple of years when he wants to.
Do you have any idea of the context of that statement, John?
Well, that was what we were discussing with
No.
Simeone leaving and going to be a club manager. I mean, a national team manager for a couple of years.
It's further than that. The Argentine Federation is not loaded with cash, and that's why they ended up with Scaloni in the first place. Nobody thought that was a good hire. They couldn't afford anybody else. Remember, they had Tata Martino. He left. They had Jorge Sampaoli. 2018 World Cup didn't go well. They didn't really have the money to go get somebody else. It's Scaloni, and it's like, well, what, who, what? And I mean, it was just everybody hated the move. Everybody was mocking him. And now it's turned into, wow, look at what this guy's done. It's incredible. They don't have a lot of money to go get somebody. But they also have the pull of that badge and that shirt and what the game means in that country. And that's why you have somebody like Javier Mascherano working with the U20s right now. Yes, Cholo would not take that job for money. He would not take it for financial reasons. He would take it for glory. He would take it for what he did in that shirt and all of that. And with what he's made at Atleti, yeah, he could make that kind of move if he wanted to. He can call his shot with what he does next.
Last question on the board so far comes from Will. And
you're telling me there's been 4 questions?
Well, but I mean, they've all been discussing things that we've either already discussed or has already gone by the wayside.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So, and it is a USA World Cup question.
Okay.
So, who are, and I guess we can workshop this, who are the USA's first 5 penalty takers if the situation comes up?
If the situation comes up, it's Pulisic. I mean, you got to know who's on the field, and this would change. But if I got everybody I want on the field, it's Pulisic, it's McKinney, it's Dest, it's Walker, and it's maybe Reyna, but he's young. I don't know if he's been in that spot. Tyler Adams. That's my 5.
Okay, because Burns says not Tyler Adams.
Okay, that's fine. Ha 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 ha! People have a different opinion on something. Oh my God, it's insane.
It's the timing of it. It was funny for the timing.
That's fine. I'm picking Tyler Adams because I'm not going to put a 19-year-old in Gio Reyna there if he doesn't want to take it. And Tyler Adams is a leader in this team. I'm not asking him to make a 40-yard pass. I'm asking him to put a ball in the back of the net from 12 yards. A lot of that is, how's your composure, son? Mm-hmm. How's your nerves? I trust Tyler Adams in that spot.
So, and Colonel's asking Jarrett, does a snapping turtle really let go if he or she hears thunder? Asking for my wife.
That's what I was always told as a kid, was you don't mess with a snapping turtle, especially an alligator snapping turtle, because if it latches on, it won't let go till it hears thunder. I doubt that's true, but that was what I was told growing up.
I was never told anything about snapping turtles when I was growing up.
Because I walking home one day, I saw one in a creek and told my parents about it, and my mom was like, "Yeah, don't go near that. It's like, just stay away from that." And as I got older, I came to the conclusion of, hey, whatever killed the dinosaurs didn't kill alligator snapping turtles, so what the hell are you going to do to stop it?
Carson, and I did not see this, so I don't know if either of you have as well. The goal that Jenna Toole scored for Chelsea yesterday. Didn't know if either of you had seen that one, because Carson is reporting it was a golazo.
I will be looking for it. I've not seen that.
I'll have to check it out.
And that
I was still losing my mind over the goal in Houston this last week. And
Pedri's goal was the goal to lose your mind about from the weekend.
It's fair.
It was ridiculous.
And that catches us up.
Sure, allegedly. All right, Wednesday, one game that has been canceled in Libertadores at Independiente del Valle at Atletico Mineiro. I don't have the reasoning for that. I was actually trying to find it, and I'm not sure. That has already been canceled. That has nothing to do with Peru. Obviously, Atletico Mineiro is Brazilian. Keep an eye on the game tonight with Flamengo already in the country with Sporting Cristal. Keep an eye on the game tomorrow with Alianza Lima and River, with everything going on in Peru. Tomorrow in Champions League, we'll talk about Chelsea and Real Madrid. We'll talk about Villarreal hosting Bayern. Alphonso Davies might start in that match for Bayern, according to Bild. Also tomorrow, a big 6-pointer in the relegation battle in the Prem. Burnley hosting Everton. What, John?
It is true. Yes, it is a big relegation 6-pointer. And programming though, Prim and Proper will be out later today.
Okay, cool. We will probably at the end of the week piece together a Soccer Over There modified edition to recap all your Champions League and Europa League and Libertadores and Sudamericana and midweek league stuff. We'll shoot for a Friday edition. It'll almost be a throwback to the old Crumpets and Espresso days. We'll try to get that out for you on a Friday, a little recorded, stitched together episode. And Soccer Over There will be back next week. So last reminder, you want to come to the event on Thursday, you've got to let me know today and as soon as possible to get on the list. Special guests from Atlanta United. We'll be talking about the intersections between footballing culture in Atlanta and Argentina and why so many Argentines are coming to play in Atlanta and how they feel about that and how they feel about Argentine culture in Atlanta and just lots of conversations about all of those overlaps. Should be a fun one. Thursday night, it will be on Twitch, but you can join us at Elsewhere Brewing in Grant Park. but you have to be on the list to guarantee entry because it is expected to be full. Our friends from the Argentine consulate have a number of members of the Argentine community here in Atlanta coming, and elsewhere it's not a giant place. So you want to get in, let me know you're coming, and let me know how many people are coming, and we will start filling up the list very, very quickly. So tomorrow morning, 9:05. If you are a subscriber, I'm sure there will be shenanigans on the Discord tonight with probably starting this afternoon with Champions League in Europe, and then tonight with Libertadores, with Sudamericana, with Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. Yeah, it'll be stupid. It'll be very, very stupid, and there will be lots of crazy things to talk about in all these different places. And we'll kind of recap all of it tomorrow morning for you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks again to Dylan Butler. Make sure you're following him, Dylan_Butler on social media. But thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back tomorrow. Mucho plata, y'all.
Mucho plata, y'all.
Mucho plata, y'all.